Good morning everyone. Today I am going to present a e-content on the topic National Education Policy 2020. I am Reshma Rex, Department of Mathematics. First, let us see the abstract of National Education Policy. First, introduction. Next, National Educational Policy. Aims of National Education Policy, School Education, Higher Education, Conclusion, and then References. First, let us see the introduction of National Education Policy. The National Education Policy 2020 is the first educational policy of the 21st century and replaces the 34-year-old National Policy on Education in 1986. It was built on the foundational pillars of access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. This policy is aligned to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Next, let us see the National Education Policy from the beginning. 1968 National Policy on Education 1 was based on the recommendations of the Kothari Commission. It was from 1964 to 1966. Next, in 1986, the government led by Rajiv Gandhi introduced a new national policy on education. In 1992, National Policy on Education was modified in 1992 by the P.V. Narasimha Rao government. In 2020, on 29th July, the Cabinet approved a new national education policy based on MHRD's draft of National Education Policy 2019, which was followed by a number of public consultation. Here I have inserted an image from 1968 to 2020 National Education Policy varies. First they done this National Education Policy in 1968. Next in 1986, next in 1992, then in 2020. After 34 years, National Education Policy was renewed. Next, let us see the aims of National Education Policy 2020. First one is transform the Indian education system to meet the needs of the 21st century. Rectify poor literacy and numeracy outcomes associated with primary schools. Focus on early childhood care, restructure curriculum and pedagogy. Reform assessments and exams and invest in teacher training. Bring a holistic change in the education system of India. Next, let us see the salient features of National Education Policy 2020. The Ministry of Human Resource Development renamed to the Ministry of Education. Next, let us move on to the school education. The current 10+2 system to be replaced by a new 5+3+3+4 curricular structure corresponding to ages from 3 to 8, then 8 to 11, then 11 to 14 and then from 14 to 18 years respectively. Here I have inserted an image of existing academic structure and then new academic structure. Then next one is, it will bring the age group of 3 to 6 years under school curriculum, which has been recognized globally as the crucial stage for development of mental faculties of a child. Next one is emphasis on foundational literacy and numeracy extracurricular occasional streams in schools. Next one is occasional education. Occasional education to start class 6th with internships. Students to learn coding from grade 6 onwards. Next, he has said in this policy about the language. It was teaching up to at least grade 5th and preferably till grade 8 to be in mother tongue or in regional language. No language will be imposed on any student. Next, about the internship opportunity. A 10-day bagless period sometime during grade 6 to 8 intern with local occasional experts such as carpenters, gardeners, porters, artists, etc. Similar internships opportunities for grade 6 to 12th. Next, learning outcomes. Assessment reforms with 360-degree holistic progress card tracking student progress for achieving learning outcomes. Next one is flexibility of choosing subjects. No rigid separation between academic streams. Next, about the exam pattern. In order to reduce the importance and stress of board exam will be conducted in two parts. One is descriptive and the other is objective. Exam can be conducted twice a year. Board exam should promote knowledge application rather than rote learning. Next, let us see some of the highlights of National Education Policy in school education. Early childhood care and education, foundational literacy and numeracy, multilingualism, teachers, services, environment and culture, etc. Next, let us see the higher education. Gross enrollment ratio in higher education to be raised to 50% by 2035. Also, 3.5 crore seats to be added in higher education. The current gross enrollment ratio in higher education is 26.3%. Next one is about the MPhil courses. MPhil courses will be discontinued and all the courses at undergraduate, postgraduate and PhD level will now be interdisciplinary. Next one is Single Umbrella Body Higher Education Commission of India, that is HECI, to be set up for entire higher education, excluding medical and legal. Next one is multidisciplinary education and research universities at IITs, IIMs to be set up as model of best multidisciplinary education of global standards in the country. Next one is Academic Bank of Credits to be established to facilitate transfer of credits. Next, National Assessment Center PARAC has been created to access the students. It also aims to increase the public investment in the education sector to reach 6% of GDP at the earliest. Currently, India spends around 4.6% of its total GDP on education. Next one is a new and comprehensive national curriculum framework for teacher education, that is NCFTE 2021 will be formulated by the National Council for Teacher Education, that is NCTE. By 2030, the minimum degree qualification for teaching will be 4 years for B.Ed degree. Next, let us see some of the highlights of higher education in National Education Policy 2020. Institutional restructuring and consolidation, teacher education, reimagining vocational education, professional education, transforming the regulatory system, promotion of Indian language, art and culture, technology use and integration, etc. Next, let us see some of the importance of National Education Policy 2020. The NEP 2020 aims at making India a global knowledge superpower. The National Education Policy cleared by the Cabinet is only the third major revamp of the framework of education in India since independence. It is also much needed. Next, let us see some of the challenges of NEP 2020. The National Education Policy 2020 approved by the Cabinet has not been presented in Parliament. It is only a policy, not a law. Implementation of its proposals depends on further regulations by both states and the central, as education is a concurrent subject. It is also funding. Now let's move on to the conclusion. The new National Education Policy NEP 2020 is a good policy as it aims at making the education system holistic, flexible, multidisciplinary, aligned to the needs of the 21st century and the 2030 of Sustainable Development Goals. The intent of policy seems to be ideal in many ways, but it is the implementation where lies the key to success. These are my references and thank you.